All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
On the South Souls, by giving no praise to
Praise to
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem,
Bahashem,
Yahweh
Yahweh
Shai,
Shai,
Ba'ashem,
Bahashem,
Makar,
Rakar
Kadash.
Kodash.
All right, double honors to the Apostle of Great Millstone,
Double honors.
and honestly, brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. Couple brothers from the London camp. We'll go and get into it, see where the spirit leads. We what you call it, been watching this show, Clarkson's Farm. I both say it'll be a good thing to go into, because I've said it several times personally, to different people, that is one of the most important documentaries ever made. That whole thing, because we're so far removed, the majority of us, from how our food gets to our plate, right? So the idea, of actually, rather the concept of actually following a farmer, right, who's actually laying down just like how hard it is. And it was a poignant a statement he made at the end of the first series, Jeremy Clarkson, that is, where basically he speaks about how, for him, when the going gets tough, he can just go on, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and make a load of money. But he was saying a load of farmers can't do that, right? And there's a very spiritual amount of money that he made in terms of profit at the end of his first year farming, right? But one of the things that we both observed was the fact that he is basically orchestrating a famine, okay, with all of the different red tape, with all of the different um, fluctuations in price, right, of fertilizer, of this, of that. So they're going to end up in a situation where there ain't no food, right? And so all going to be, he's going to make it seem like, oh my God, it's out of nowhere. But for those, in fact, we can grab that out. In fact, you read yours and I'll get what I'm thinking about.
All right. I had a scripture, Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 12. It says, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation. Oh, sorry, that's not what I want to read. Verse 13. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a fearful constellation.
Mm.
You know, going into this to the farmers, the breadbasket of the food industry, where we get the food from is these farms. Okay, then some of them go to food processing plants and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And like the brother was saying, pretty much the the way that this man's um, set it up, things that's happening around the world, like Ukraine,
Mm-hmm.
the wheat
Mm-hmm.
price and the
Mm-hmm.
fertilizer price and all that being affected. These are things that are all being affected.
Yep.
You know, um,
Energy prices,
in America, you have the train derailments.
and then the factories all somehow burning down.
Yeah, getting airplanes crashing into them.
Yeah.
You got certain states in the US that's famous for the crops that it makes. Like a whole state that's just known for that. Whether it might be cornfields or what it might be. You're getting train derailments. You're getting you know, the crops are failing. They're not getting what do you call it, man? The basically when I said the crops are fading, the yield,
The yield, yeah,
the
yeah,
yield
yeah,
ain't
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah. Because that's the thing as well. Because then they're all gonna try and tie that down into the sea change, right? Oh yeah, this is all because of the sea change, but it's like it's a whole system that is basically being broken at the moment, right?
one
Yeah,
example. Let's use an example. Now this year the Pasuk,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
a couple brothers were in charge of getting the
Horseradish.
horseradish. We spoke about it, brother Shakal.
Yeah,
We spoke about it, and it was very difficult to get it
yeah,
this year.
yeah.
Okay, it was if you could get it, it was very very expensive in a few stores. They didn't have it where I normally go to get the horseradish. A couple years we'd get it.
Yeah,
It wasn't there,
yeah,
and then come to find out that there's a shortage.
yeah. Mad shortage, and the farmers, because basically the brother spoke to the owner of the shop, or maybe he knows me when I called as well. But basically, one of the suppliers basically said, "Look, man, the weather has been strange, right? Therefore,
Mm.
and the thing that was interesting. He also said that this is going to be the same for horseradish and other crops."
Right.
right?
Okay. See.
So it wasn't just the horseradish; it was horseradish and everything else.
Yep.
I had the one I was looking for. This is Proverbs 22:3. It says, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished." Right. And one of the things this what you call it, the scriptures and the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua allow us to do, right, is to filter everything that we see. Right. So we basically seeing what's going on and we're like, oh, okay, that's good. Okay, that could lead to this and that, and obviously that's through the spirit that the Lord allows us to do that. Right. However, people in the world as that's one of the things that we've kept, the spirit has had us constantly speak about as I've been up here with you, right? They're just none the wiser.
Mm.
They're just going on as if it will always be this way, right? But it ain't always gonna be this way. And once, as we're talking about, this man is getting ready to orchestrate a famine, right? Because but let's be real, we're dealing with with the man that's all about depopulating the whole world, right? One of those ways and control, and one of those best ways to control people, right, is by way of the by way of food, right?
I had something.
Okay.
This is Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1. It says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed."
Mm.
And the episode we were watching of the same show that we were talking about, you had people that were coming up from talking about regenerative farming.
Yeah.
Okay, which pretty much when you look into regenerative farming, is to try and do things in a more natural way, the way that Yahweh Shemiel Shai intended. Not so exactly like them following the law per se, because we have a law about how you farm, how you gather fruit and things of that nature. Okay, but just not the madness that Esau's got to. They were saying that if you keep using the fertilizer, the chemicals that they're spraying into this soil, he said after a couple of generations, that soil is going to be useless.
Yep.
Well, the examples in this, when I remember asking my father was born in 1960. So he's what, 64 now? And I asked him, I said, how did, because grew up in Turkey. So you got different soil there as well, obviously, compared to the UK. But I said, how was a tomato back then? I use a tomato as an example compared to the tomato now that you get from the store. And he said, completely different. This is that plastic we're eating. He said, first of all, when you would just go to the market, when you'd have like tomatoes on the stall, you could smell the wave of the tomato just as you're going into the market. You don't smell that when you're at Tesco now. Tesco, Asda, you don't, which are supermarkets in the UK, as examples. You don't smell that when you go in. So it's just it's all defiled. It's all getting weaker and weaker.
Yeah. Got something real quick?
Oh, which means that we're not getting the same nutrients out of it.
Oh, yeah.
That's why the older generations, they're much stronger too.
Yeah. So because you said that, one of the things that they say, right? You can fact check it yourselves, but they say like men have a lot less testosterone now than back in the day. He basically keeps saying that our grandparents had more testosterone than our fathers had more testosterone than us. But once again, we understand what we're dealing with. Once again, a man that doesn't believe in life. Scripture says in Habakkuk, the second chapter, that he is as death. Right, but quickly on what he was reading, that says Ezekiel 4:13 says, "And Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them." Right, so that's basically what you're seeing throughout the world, right? What you'd rather wherever Jake is, we just be eating hella defiled bread, right? But then you get these Edomites, scripture says, not in trouble as other men, just out here living good, eating good, right? Like we saw some true free range cows earlier on, right? Some true free range, right? But that ain't coming to our tables, right?
Yep.
But I got, unless you got something, I got this.
No, go on, bro. I've got something after you.
Okay, cool. This is Second Ezra 6:22. It says, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty." Right? And just on that point, right now you can go to the store and then you are seeing, like, back in the day it maybe have been like 10 items deep, right? Whereas like now, maybe like 2 or 3. But it's gonna come a time, and the CV showed us that there's gonna come a time when the food ain't gonna be there, and the way Esau's designed the system, and in particular these cities, right, is no one can grow their own food, right? No one can grow their own food, and even if you can grow something, how long is it truly gonna last you, right? Says, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall suddenly be afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Right, but the point I wanted there is that at that time shall friends fight against one another like enemies. Right, and I believe okay, you're over there. Right, but in Second Ezra the 15th chapter, it speaks about how a man basically invading one another for lack of bread, right? Because when people ain't got food, a instinct ticks over. Like, for instance, remember where we were at and people were fighting over seats, right?
Yep.
Fighting over seats. And it was like, right, just to sit down for a little bit, are all like, trying to get one up over on each other. So imagine when it's something important like food.
The scripture you just read, it says the springs that also got into Esau going to be shutting off certain water supplies and things like that too. Because there's a documentary called a mockumentary, I think it's called. It's called Blackout in the UK. That where in that documentary they put a water tank outside, and the guy is trying to recycle his own water. The kids start drinking the water from the outside. They start getting sick. The communal water that they put out. So you can't trust Esau, man. Even with the water systems, years ago, that's all being privatized. I'll use the UK as an example. That's all being privatized. In that same show, the show that we're talking about, the farmer show with Jeremy Clarkson, there's a little bit which goes into how they privatized water. I think we're in the 70s. I think it was in the 70s, where they show clips of people where they used to get in like water from a local spring for years, for millennia or whatever, right? Here they come across the Thames, or well, not Thames, but the different water companies. Yeah. They put their own pipes, and then they're drinking that water. They're like, they was protesting. We don't want to drink this water; it's poison. I think one of them said they started using the new water from the taps that they were brought in for their goldfish, and the goldfish died.
Yeah. Would you look at that?
So there's things what we're drinking, Salaka.
Point,
what we're drinking is poisonous. What we're eating is poisonous. It's terrible for us, man. It's that's why people are getting all these diseases. They're dying. So we try and eat as healthy as we can. But the brother read it earlier. We eat our bread defiled among the Gentiles.
Yeah. And if you could say as well, the next thing with municipal water, right, is the fact that it needs electricity because it's pressurized. Yeah, they got backup generators, but how long can that really last, right? And especially if you live in a flat, right, which once again is something that you see a lot in these cities, man, right? To have your own actual yard, right, in one of these major cities, the Lord, blessed you, just keeping it real, right? But to have like most people in flats, when the electric goes off, guess what? Your water goes off.
Yeah, I woke up one day and I had no water supply. Tried to turn the tap on, there was nothing coming out. So I said it'll be all right. So I come back to it in an hour, nothing. So I was okay, let me call the water company. And they said that it's going to be up in a couple of hours. And they said if it's more than a day, let us know. They told me to go. If I needed to, they said, go buy water, keep the receipts, and we'll take it off your bill. What if I ain't got ready money?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what they were saying, man. So, we're dependent on all these things.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're dependent on Esau. I had a precept up.
Yeah, you got it, bro.
Right, this is a 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 5. It says, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. And just to hone in on a point, one of the plagues it says is famine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there is going to be times where people are going to be actually dying from starvation.
Yeah.
They ain't going to be able to get food. Okay,
Uh,
or people are going to be fighting over each other, killing each other for food. When you read, uh, if I may,
mm-hmm.
can I read down in 2 Corinthians 15 quickly?
Yeah, of course.
Right, just to get to the point. Verse 19 says, "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation." So it's going to be all out mayhem. Okay, a lot of lawlessness going on. That's why they're going to have to bring in the troops, martial law. You know, it says, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread. So what are they going to do? They're going to come into people's houses. What's the modern day sword?
Mm.
They might actually have actual weapons, but
Yeah.
the gun.
Yep.
People are going to have guns. They're going to be at each other. They're going to have you at gunpoint, and they're going to be robbing your shit.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to have people. You're going to have people that are going to, they might not have the CHIP, and you got people that got the CHIP.
Yeah.
See, the guy with the CHIP coming out the store, they're going to rob them people. So it's going to be crazy out here.
Yeah.
All right. We of the household of faith, we're going to trust in Yahweh Shai to sustain us and look after us, as it says in Isaiah 65:13.
That's right.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it. So because you said something, but it's further down. But I'm gonna read into it. So 2 Ezra 16 from 17 says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in their fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague and tribulation, anguish are sent as scourges for amendment, right? And once again, this is the thing when you read the precepts, it goes into the fact that these calamities are coming for the fact that there's wickedness on this place and in this world, right? It says, but for all these things they shall not turn away from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Right, it says, behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon us. So victuals, these are things that you buy, right? And then right now things are quote unquote cheap. Yes, the cost of living has gone up, but let's be honest. Eggs are still somewhat affordable. Bread is still somewhat affordable. There's gonna come a time. In fact, that's in the book of Revelation about like a flour for like a penny, which when you look into it is you got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Revelation chapter 6, verse 6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Yeah, going into I've been watching this. This is a mosquito, man. Bloodsucker. A measure of wheat for a penny. You had a certain measure of wheat, and it was a penny. When you go into that penny, going into a day's wage, right? So a day's wage in that time is saying. So what's a day's wage now? So let's say, let's say you're doing so-called good, right? A day's wage, let's say.
Yeah. You can just do minimum wage. Minimum wage is what, £12
minimum
an hour?
wage is £12 an hour. So if you work 8-hour day with a 1 hour break, that's unpaid.
Yeah.
So 7 times 12. So it's 94.
Yeah.
Right? £94. That's just under £100. Right? That's how much it's saying that you pay for a measure of wheat.
Yeah.
So go on.
There was £100. That's maybe like $120. Each 110, 120.
Which is going into what? Something called hyperinflation.
Yeah.
You got inflation. Okay. Inflation, an example of inflation, right, of what's happening, meaning inflation essentially is the currency that you hold, okay, it doesn't have the same purchasing power. It's not that the prices of things are going up, it's because it's the purchasing power of your main currency that's going down.
Yeah.
So before you might have been able to buy, so we always use this example. We speak to the people of the generation before us, or even when we were younger, we could see.
Yeah.
You go with like a £20 note to the supermarket, your basket was full.
Yeah.
It was full. Now you go with £20, you might have 3-4 items in there.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Depending on what you're getting, right? So why we're making that point. The point we're making is that over time, due to inflation,
Yeah.
the prices are rising. But
Yeah.
hyperinflation is a completely different ball game here. That's when it gets out of hand. That's when it's crazy. That's like in the Weimar Republic when people had to agree when they went to eat, they had to agree the price or something
Yeah.
before they just ate because it was changing so drastically. What happened modern day Venezuela? What's happening there? Zimbabwe under Mugabe, you know, Turkey right now.
Yeah.
You know, they're going through it. Every time I've been watching Turkish interviews with people on the street, they're saying, "How are we going to eat? How are we going to do this?" You know, so it's basically that's coming to the West.
That's right. You go on. I was going to continue here.
That's the point.
So 2nd Ezra 16:21 says, "Behold, victual shall be so good cheap upon us." So as we were saying, right now there's yes, prices are going up, but it's still quote unquote cheap in contrast to what it's about to be, right? That hyperinflation. It says that they shall think themselves to be in good case. It says, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Right. So for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so a lot of people are gonna die from these famines, man.
Yeah.
And as we're saying, like, and as this documentary shows, and then once also through when the Spirit of the Lord is working, you can see that this is all engineered. There's no other conclusion. They're just doing things that you're like, wait, Dad, but this doesn't make sense unless that's what you're aiming to do, right? So there's a saying that came across a while back, and I actually really like it. But it's basically the purpose of a system is what it does, right? So basically, what that means conceptually is if the purpose of a system is to heal people, but it's constantly killing people, then what it does is actually to kill people. That's the purpose of that system. So the purpose of these governments is constantly to keep people in oppression, right? To keep well, that's it, to keep people in oppression and to destroy the peoples, man, right? But that's that they speak about insanity. These people is coming. We just had elections here or local elections here in the UK, just for like your mayors and stuff, right? People still going out to vote, and it's like, ain't you learned your lesson? These people are the devil. Well, that's Revelation 13 and 11, right? Two horns like a lamb, but spake as a dragon. It's that idea, that you're getting choice, right? Sort of like also, you get in the UK, a lot of our like cleaning products and stuff will either be like fairies or Ariels and this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, it's two companies. It's Procter and Gamble and Unilever.
So I just got this article.
Yeah.
And it says on the title, "I'm a British farmer. Here's the scary truth about what's happening to our crops." And this is dated 8th of May. So that's yesterday.
Okay, so it must be inspired by Clarkson's farm then.
Could be.
Yeah.
They don't mention it as far as I can see, but yeah. So it says, I'm just going to hit the key point, right? Farming has always been a risky business. To the chaos of Brexit and the relentless squeezing of the supermarkets, we can add the rapidly escalating threats associated with climate change. Again, Esau messing around with the and just in general, the Lord.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's the Lord.
Even on that whole thing of climate, notice how, as it's been said before, people have said it before, but notice how literally everything you do is has this is this much carbon, right? Because they're getting ready for that new system, man. Right? On my journey up here, when I look at the ticket, it says this a journey has saved this much carbon, right? When you look at food, that much carbon, right? So that's the world that we're coming into, because like, oh wait, you're eating too much, right? That's bad for the environment. So, bro,
it says, as the risk of crop failure has grown, margins have shrunk. It's a business, meaning there's nothing in the bank to pay for the bad years. Farm gate prices have been driven down to levels which, in a good year, just about cover costs. We saw that in the show. We said, how are we going to do? They were talking about the rapeseed oil, right? But leave nothing to cover crops lost to adverse weather. And it breaks it down. It goes, much of the UK's arable land was unpassable with machinery from mid-October to mid-April. Many farmers couldn't sow an autumn crop of barley or wheat, and the crops that were sown often failed, as that scripture, or rotted in waterlogged seabeds. By the time it was dry enough to sow, it was too late to establish an economically viable crop. So then they're thinking, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
For the worst affected, the loss is near 100%. How's that farm going to survive? With the UK's wheat, barley, oats, and oilseed rape production projected to drop 17.5% this year.
Yeah, so that means the prices are going to go up.
Prices are going to go up, and they go into that. They give an example of lettuce.
Yeah.
They say failure to supply. Because economy is all about, when you look at market and trade, it's all about supply and demand, you know? So the prices are going to go up because there's going to be less supply.
Yeah.
You know? And eventually, man, you think about it like this: the prices are going up because there's less demand.
Yeah.
So there's less supply, but there's more demand. And on top of that, your purchasing power, your pound, your dollar, all of that is dropping.
Yeah.
That's a deadly combination that Esau's doing. You know, and that's all to crash that market. That's all to basically bring about that famine, man. You know?
That's it. And then one of the things as well is that show goes into is basically just how expensive all of that machinery is. You know, that machinery is expensive. The logistics around it is expensive. The rules around it are difficult. Like, for instance, remember when he was trying to make the jam? And I was like, wait, you can't just do that, bro. Like,
Yeah,
you gotta
is it this
measure
kind of
it.
jam?
You gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta do this.
What's the sugar content?
Yeah, you gotta label it.
Yeah.
You gotta you gotta do all of these calculations. You gotta do all, and just to, you know, and then that's after actually having dealt with the local councils about what you can and can't do on your own farm. Here it is, it's your farm.
Yep. And then he remember in one of the episodes he had a meeting with all the local farmers.
Yeah.
And everyone was getting it.
Yeah.
He said, well, let's pull together, let's try and so basically the point is, man, that no matter what, when you watch this guy throughout the seasons, there's 3 seasons right now. We're watching his 3rd season, right? Everything he's trying, the government's shutting down, the local council's shutting it down, so he's trying something else to make money.
Yeah.
Then the traditional ways of how they make money with the arable farming is failing.
Yeah.
The weather's failing them, the systems are failing them, everything's failing them. The market's failing them, the prices, the things that they're selling. So they're not even sowing certain things because it's not worth selling.
It's not worth it, yeah. Because remember, even there was like, I don't even bother planting rapeseed.
Yeah.
And he said, don't plant.
Which you get, that's part of like, you get oil from that.
Yeah.
You know? That affects industry, that affects a lot of things.
It affects a lot of things. And once again, remember what he said at the beginning of season 1. I'm okay. I've got these other jobs. Because even in that same meeting, I remember one of the women, she was more or less crying, man. If I remember correctly, she was like, yo, it's bad. So if it weren't for you right now, I got nowhere to even sell my to sell my wares.
Yeah.
Okay. So so the Lord is getting ready to do through his sword Esau. He's getting ready to do a big madness, right? On this place, right? It's going to be, as the scripture has just said. I'll read it once more. 2 Ezra 16:22. For many of them that shall dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, right? But it goes on to say, and the other that shall escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So here is, he survived the famine, right? But the Lord is like, yeah, still gonna kill this nigga.
Yeah. And when there's famine, sometimes, man, you get in cases in history in the scriptures, and just when you look at like what do they call it? Is it not circular Christianity? What is it again? There's a word for it.
What?
Basically, in historical books and stuff.
Secular history.
Secular history, right? Leningrad. There's that siege that happened in Leningrad.
Yeah.
Well, people doing that to people doing that in prisons in Venezuela and all that, eating each other's arms, fingers and stuff.
Crazy.
You know, so we're in that time, man. We're in that time where this lack of food, this famine, is going to lead to that.
Yeah.
That's why whenever you watch these end time movies, let's use an example, Book of Eli, right? They went into that house with that old couple. What were they? They were eating meat.
But what kind of meat?
Yeah, and Denzel was saying, look at how their hands are shaking.
Yeah.
He was breaking it down to the girl. They eating people. You know, the road. They had that house where they had people hang up like cattle.
Yeah.
This is 2 Corinthians 2:11. It said, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of these devices. So we're exposing these things, what's to come. So when you know that these things are coming, right? okay, now we say, like, for example, it's wise to just get a couple extra cans and stuff when you go to the stores and stuff, a couple extra bottles of water, whatever. But you don't rely, we're not preppers. So we're not relying on, well, we've got this amount of stuff.
Yeah.
Because the scriptures tell you in 2 Peter 16 that they entered the house of the ones that fear the Lord and went into spoiled their goods.
Yeah.
So, we don't rely on that. We rely on Yahweh Shmi Shai. You don't know how the Lord can do it, man.
Yeah.
Many examples. Elijah was fed by ravens. The Lord can have an animal come and feed you.
That's it.
And the Lord can someone could be ordering something somewhere. Let's say they're ordering some food. The Lord can make that divert to you.
Yeah.
So there's many examples. That's just a couple examples.
And even on that, you see that at the end of Leave the World Behind, right? Because the girl was in a bunker, right? But where were the owners? Leave the World Behind. The owners weren't there. The bunker was just there, left open, free.
Oh yeah, with the food. Yeah, at the end. I get you.
Same on the road. Same with the road.
Yeah.
It was just a bunker there, right? So all of this carnal prepping, right? That won't mean anything, man.
Yeah. Let me get that scripture, man.
It's all about trusting in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai.
That's right.
I
got that precept. Isaiah 65:13. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. So there's an example right there. So the ones that are serving Yahweh Hashem Yahushai are going to be looked after. We're going to be cared for, man. Right? But but behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. There's going to be people that are just going to be messed up. But we're going to be, although we're going to be still, in the flesh, because in the flesh you can be fearful. But really, ultimately, man, we have faith. We have faith in Yahweh Hashem Shai and faith onto what? Salvation.
That's it. Yeah. I'll just grab this one. I don't know if you've got anything else after, but it's Surah 39 from 28. He says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of their destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Fire and hell and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance, right? So this is all about Yahweh Hashem Yahushai's vengeance, man. When these things happening in the world, well, once again, we understand why these things are happening, right? We understand when we hear breaking news or some crazy story, happening in the world, right? We're like, hey, the Lord is doing this thing, right?
This is Exodus chapter 23, verse 20. It says, behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice, provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. And that's going into Yahushua. Now, when we was coming out of Egypt, you had our people just complaining about what? Moses, you brought us out here to die, the leeks, the garlics, and all that in Egypt. Okay. But what happened, man? The Lord was with us. Yahushua was leading us in that chariot. Okay. Manna from heaven, the quails, different examples of times where the Lord sustained us and looked after us. And despite that, you still had 2/3 Jake complaining, wicked Jake that were complaining about that, man. So the Lord is going to look after us. That's the point. The Lord looked after us in that time, okay, and the Lord's going to look after us in this time.
That's right, man. And we got to believe that.
Faith,
because without believing that, guess what? That's these people in the world. They're gonna fall short, right? These people in the world that you see around, they ain't got no one to believe. They're hopeless, as we was going into the other day. Was it yesterday? But these people in the world, they're hopeless. Therefore, when push comes to shove, they're gonna just take that MOTB, right? Thinking that that's the way out.
Yeah, Esau's going to present that as the way out.
Yeah, it was the same thing with the CV, right? He was like, "Look, man, what he's saying. Look, man, with the that thing, man. Look, I've got the solution, man. And it once again, when I look at the different countries and how Esau dealt with each of these different countries. Like it's like this man, when the scripture says his heart is deep, it's not lying, right? Because when you look at the way they did America, they tied it to your job, right? Whereas, like, for us, like, it's just a job. But it's like in America, your job, that means your healthcare, right? You lose your healthcare, then a broken foot. Now how you going to pay for it for the hospital bills? Here in the UK, they had everyone locked down for 6 months. 6 months, couldn't do shit. But then it was like, look, man, summer's coming up. You want to go on that holiday? Hey, you know what you got to do, right?
They got many people with it.
Yeah.
Now people are wondering, people are dropping dead. Why are the major companies that are actually pushing that are pulling things back?
Yeah.
Never trust thine enemy, man.
Never trust thine enemy.
And Esau's going to do that again. He's going to, he's going to push the MOTB. He's going to, rely. Basically, he's going to get people to rely on him, and the majority of people are going to rely on him because people panic. They get scared easily, man. They're easily controlled.
That's it.
Like when they were saying the toilet tissues were running out.
Yeah.
People were fighting over toilet tissue and stuff.
That's it. That's it. All right, man. Yeah, so, hey, Lord's Will, that was edifying as always. And we're going to close, give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem, Kakadash, right, double honors, apostle of great millstone, and honestly, brothers, in the work of the most on truth and in sincerity.